All right, howdy, folks. Morgan here. Going to be talking about a really important issue related to getting to Burning Man. Um, Talking about financing, how to finance your trip to Burning Man. So some folks have savings and they can afford a $1,500 expenditure without having to take any debt. Some folks have sufficient income on a monthly basis that, income minus expenses leaves them with enough cash left over that they can wipe out most of a trip to Burning Man, um, cost of a trip to Burning Man, without having to take any real debt on. Yeah, but then there are going to be some of us who maybe can't do that. So let's talk about the financing for getting to Burning Man and particularly paying for it on credit card. Generally not a wise idea to pay for something like this on credit card. It's kind of expensive, but doesn't necessarily mean that it isn't worth it, and we're going to talk about that now. So 2017, I went to Burning Man, and I ended up basically walking away from Burning Man with, I think, $3,000 or more or less having my credit card maxed out. And then it took me pretty much 3 years to pay that off. And most of that 3 years, my credit card stayed at or near its $3,000 limit because most of that 3 years I was not able to earn enough income to manage my expenses and then also wear down my credit card debt. Um, what that meant is that I was also taking on an extra $30 a month in interest fees on my credit card. And 3 years worth of $30 a month in interest fees on your credit card comes out to about an extra $1,000. Hey, look at this. 30, 12, 3, 30 times 12 times 3. Over $1,000 in interest on my credit card that I ended up just eating because I couldn't pay my credit card down debt fast. Was stuck with it. So that meant that my Burning Man trip cost about $4,000. Was it worth it? Sure, totally. It was totally worth $4,000. Um, yeah, I mean it's a major life experience. It was the second time I'd gone to Burning Man. If it had been the first time I'd gone to Burning Man, it would have been easily worth $4,000. The second time going to Burning Man, it was kind of more of a um, half, like right at the edge of what it was worth going to Burning Man. Um, and again, that's cost $4,000 because I couldn't pay my debt down fast. So there's that. You can do that if you want to. It's available to you. You might think about where you're at in terms of your life situation and your income, and how quickly be able to pay down the debt after the trip. How much debt you already have would also be really important to think about. If you're in a situation where in a year or two you could wipe out all of your debt, then it might be better to just go ahead and wipe out all of your debt and not worry about going to Burning Man for another couple of years. If it's going to be like 10 years, then you might go ahead and just go to Burning Man, enjoy it, and then, continue to deal with the consequences afterwards. There's something to be said for that, and there's something to be said for, being slightly more fiscally responsible. I'm a little bit more of a, you only get to live once kind of person, so that's why, for me that $4,000 was worth swallowing it. Um, I will say it's important to keep in mind, and if you live with that right now, you can probably appreciate this. Having that $3,000 in debt hanging over me constantly, it's yes, there's a drain in terms of having to constantly be throwing money to the credit card company to pay the principal and pay the bill. There's also an energetic drain that happens to us when we have debt. It's actually been research done on this, and they've shown that people who have debt end up also having lower incomes. Like the possession of debt directly leads to and causes lower incomes. And the reason is because it puts us in a more financially vulnerable situation that makes us less willing to take risks and less willing to negotiate higher pay in our jobs, things of this nature. Basically becomes an energetic emotional sap on us having debt. So that's another thing to think about and consider. Do you want to incur this debt going to Burning Man right now, knowing that being hanging over you for a potentially protracted period of time is going to also slow you down in the rest of your life. Going to make you less mobile, less able to just, go and take this job over there or do that thing over there. So that's the other thing to think about. If you're taking on this debt for Burning Man, it kind of automatically means that you're not going to be taking on debt to do something else. And so is there anything else that you might instead do if you're going to take on, $500, $1,000, even $1,500 worth of debt? So these are all things to think about when we're talking about credit card debt. And this is, this is the sort of thing that's going to get paid for with a credit card. It's not really a personal loan type thing. So it's different from student loans, car loans, and mortgages because those all have generally lower interest rates and longer term returns for them. Usually you have your car for a long time, your house for a long time, and well, once you've got that education, that's with you for life, right? Burning Man, the experience is with you for life, but it's just a different sort of thing. So, and it's going to be on a credit card, and that's going to have like 9-10%, possibly even much higher, depending on you and your credit card and your credit. That's the other thing to check out is what your interest rate is and what the monthly cost of having that debt will be for you. Alrighty, so that's the first part of financing for Burning Man is thinking carefully about whether or not this is something that's worth going into debt for if you need to. I think if it's your first time going and you're interested in going and you're that sort of person, then it probably is. Most people who go to Burning Man have transformative experiences. Most people find it's a life-changing event. It was for me in 2013 when I went the first time. So if it's your first time, I would say it's much more on the side of being a worthwhile, valuable experience for you. That said, you have cheaper alternatives and that you can go to regional burns. They're not going to be the same as going to Burning Man. In some respects, they're going to be actually better. In other respects, they're just not going to be the same as going to Burning Man. So that's another consideration, is maybe doing a regional burn if you haven't done one of those yet and getting that experience before going to the main burn. Alrighty. Hello. Yes, cool. So, I just gave a big long speech about how it's worth it to go into debt to go to Burning Man, basically. Now let's talk about this in the context of when you really actually shouldn't do that. Just kind of by the numbers. So one of the things you need to sit down and do is look at what your monthly income is and look at what your monthly expenses are, both like must expenses like your rent or mortgage, food, insurances of various sorts, other bills like electricity, utilities, internet, etc. Look at those expenses and then look at how much you have left over each month after everything's said and done that's actually free to put towards a trip like this. And there is a threshold at which you're basically fucked and can't afford to go to Burning Man this year and would be very, very, very unwise to go and do the burn because you basically won't ever be able to pay off your debt. Yeah, especially if you don't anticipate your income increasing anytime soon. So there is a warning point here, and we're gonna look at that right now. So let's start off with just looking at the optimistic point. So hopefully, if you're financially fairly healthy, you've got about $100 free a month to put towards Burning Man. Now let's say it's January, and you've got January to August, 8 months worth of income and $100 a month extra to put towards Burning Man. Of your $1,500 trip, you'll have $800 of it paid for by the time you go to the Playa, which means you'll have about $700 on credit card debt at the time of going to and getting off of the Playa. All right, cool. So there's all of that. How long will it take you to pay that $700 off? Again, you've got $100 free cash each month to put towards paying off that debt. So $700 divided by $100 a month put towards your paying off your debt. 7 months, and you'll have your Burning Man trip paid off, and you'll be free to go and do other things with your money. Right, so that takes you about a little over a year and a quarter to pay it off. Now, if we account for interest, it might end up being a little closer to 8 months to actually pay it off. or you might get it out in 7 months. It just kind of depends on how the numbers work out. So if you get $100 free a month, then you're free and clear to go to Burning Man, and have it paid off in a reasonable amount of time, whatever's remainder. This is a safe bet. You do need to factor in and consider, does this also account for potential extra medical bills or car repairs, other oddball random things that are going to happen during your year, during any given year, right? So there are some other things you need to factor in to make sure that you've fully accounted for your monthly expenses and that this is actually what you have available per month. If you don't know how to do that, there are people who can help you learn how to do a budget, an annual budget, and look at those things. But $100 is a safe amount, a pretty comfortable amount to pull this off with. Alrighty, so let's look at it now from a different number standpoint. Let's say you're working with $25 a month. That's all you've got that's free each month to put towards going to Burning Man. Well, over the course of the 8 months, you've got about $200 there in cash going ahead and paid for. That's good. That's a good start. And that's going to leave you with about $1,300 in actual credit card debt, right? Great. So $1,300 in credit card debt, and then when you get back from the playa, you're looking at still, picking away at that at $25 a month. Well, optimistically speaking, if you're going to pay that off, paying it off $25 a month, $1,300, it's going to take you 52 months in order to pay that off. That comes out to being about 4 years, okay? That's a little over 4 years to pay off this credit card debt. But there's a catch. There's a really kind of nasty catch here. You're going to be looking at around $15, maybe even $20 a month in interest payments. I assume $15 here. So what that means is that every month you have to pay, when you pay your $25, $15 of your $25 is going to go to just paying the interest for that month that accrued. And then the remainder will actually go to paying down this $1,300. So this isn't exactly the right math for doing this sort of calculation, but it gives you an idea. You're looking at 130 months in order to get to the point where you've actually paid off your debt. In other words, that's going to take you over 10 years if all you ever have is an extra $25 a month available to you. And you know your financial situation better than anybody else, and what your earning potential is. If this is really what you have to look forward to in life, then if you're going to go to Burning Man, you probably are going to need to ask for help from a generous, slightly more financially secure friend, because you're never going to be able to pay off the debt from that type of expense, or it's going to be a long fucking time before you're able to do so. If you know that your income will go up in some time in the near future, and you're like, it's definite guarantee, and this is going to go up by quite a bit, it might be slightly more safe to go ahead and go to Burning Man now and not worry about it later, and get it taken care of, especially if you know you'll be starting a new job in the new year or something like that. But right now, if this is all you know and this is all you have, this is the point in which you really need to think about not going to Burning Man. And waiting until your income situation, your financial situation changes for the better. Let's look at a slightly higher threshold. Let's look at $50 a month if that's what you have free. So with $50 a month, you've got about $400 that would be paid for in advance, and then $1,100 that would be going in debt. And then that $1,100 would take about 22 months or 2 years to pay off if you're not accounting for interest. If you are accounting for interest, it wouldn't take 31 months. It would be a little faster than that, but it would postpone you by a good little bit all the same. So you're looking at a little over 2 years to pay off your credit card debt. If you are at $50 a month. And that's a little bit more reasonable. That's a little bit more tolerable. That might still be a no, don't go scenario, or it might be, it's a once and a lifetime opportunity. Let's go ahead and do it and enjoy ourselves type of situation. So at $50, if that's what you have free, everything else accounted for, then you're at the threshold of, yeah, definitely this is worth thinking about doing and might be safe to do. It's still kind of risky. A really good conservative financial advisor would tell you, hell no, don't do that. Really good conservative financial advisor would probably tell you, hell no, don't do that at this point too, level 2, $100 a month. But hey, you know what? Different people have different values. But at $25 a month, anything less than $50 a month, really, if you get right down to it, you're definitely in a much more of a no-go zone for going to Burning Man. This is the point where you really actually can't afford it, because you're always going to constantly being pretty much paying off the principal, or rather the interest, and not being able to put too much towards the principal and actually paying down the debt. So that's your financials for financing a trip to Burning Man. It is worth going into debt to do this. It is definitely a powerful life experience. It will probably be a transformative life experience. If you have a lot of debt, or if you have an income that is very tight at this moment in time and doesn't look likely to improve anytime in the near future, then you probably want to think differently about going to Burning Man. But if you especially only have, after everything else at the end of the day, $25 a month, or we'll say less than $50 a month, to put towards financing a trip to Burning Man, you probably should not be going right now, and instead waiting and maybe focusing your energy on improving your income situation if you can. So that's the dealio with financing. The rest of financing, I talked a little bit about, and maybe, yeah, deals with, the fact that you might have some significant outlays to have to make early on, and these are okay to put on credit card if you know that you'll be putting like some hardcore energy towards paying that down as you go on into the future. So yeah, there you go. And that's it.